Hello, everybody. David here. Welcome. Here we share true stories from real people. Today, starting out with the first story. Am I the asshole for laughing when my aunt told my stepmom that depression doesn't make you sleep with a married man? Sorry for the long title. I really didn't know what to call this to explain the situation. My first language is Spanish. In short, 2 years ago, my dad left my mom for his mistress, who I'll call Anna, a common name. My mom had no idea about the affair. Anna knew my dad was married, and she even came with him to our house to get his stuff. One day, he just told my mom that he didn't love her anymore and wanted to be happy with Anna. I was there when it happened. Anna has depression. She has a lot of scars on her legs and arms. I don't go to my dad's house because being around them makes me uncomfortable for obvious reasons. Anna is way too nice, and it's just weird. A few days ago, it was my grandpa's birthday, and the whole family got together, including Anna. I have an aunt who also has depression and more severe issues like schizophrenia, and she has tried to hurt herself multiple times. At one point in the night, it was just my dad, my aunt Anna, another aunt, and me in the living room. For some reason, my aunt and Anna were talking about some serious issues, and at one point, Anna started saying that her depression made her do a lot of things to try to feel fulfilled, that she could only overcome her depression when she met my dad, and that he saved her. She said that meeting him was the key to getting through her depression, and that now she's finally happy because of him. I know this because Anna often tries to bond with me by telling me how much she's suffered in life and how my dad saved her. She always justifies herself by saying she was depressed and had a hard life, and my dad saved her. It always makes me uncomfortable, and I don't feel any sympathy for her no matter how sweet she tries to be. Talking about how many times you've tried to kill yourself in front of my 8-year-old sister isn't normal. Anna always tries to paint her relationship with my dad as a fairy tale that started differently, but she has no regrets because her world is now perfect. At that moment, my aunt said something like, "I tried to save myself by going to a psychologist, not by jumping on the dick of a married man." Then she started talking about how her depression made her want to jump off a bridge, but not ruin a family. I just laughed. It was funny, really. My aunt might be out of her mind all day, but it was wild seeing her make such a sharp comment. But when my dad drove me home, Anna was crying, and he scolded me for laughing at what my aunt said, claiming that no one really knows what Anna has been through. I do. She always talks about it. I didn't apologize, but now I'm wondering, was I really wrong to laugh? From my perspective, my aunt was right. Update, July 17, 2024. Hi, something happened over the weekend. My aunt came over. I live with my mom, and told my mom what happened. My mom hates my dad for obvious reasons, but she's still very nice to him and tries to keep us out of all the issues they have. My mom is honestly a saint. My sister is 8 years old, and she hates Anna. Once, Anna tried to bond with her by telling her about the times she wanted to kill herself and how my dad saved her. Then my sister came home and asked my mom if she ever thought about killing herself. That's not a question an 8-year-old should be asking, and then my sister even asked me about suicide. I don't really know what Anna said to her, but it definitely affected her as a little girl. That's not even something you should tell a girl her age. My mom was furious, and since that day, she banned my dad from letting my sister be around Anna, because she sees her as dangerous and unstable to be around children. Since that day, things between my mom and dad have been really tense, but my sister doesn't want to visit my dad anymore, so she's okay with it. My aunt told my mom that Anna brought up that stuff again, but this time in front of me. Apparently, my dad and Anna are completely banned from talking about these things in front of me. I'm not a child, but clearly, that was the arrangement my mom made with my dad when she set boundaries for them. My aunt told her what happened that day, and I confessed to my mom that Anna and my dad talked a lot about those suicide attempts in front of me, which I should have told her about earlier, but at the time, I didn't want to get into trouble, so I decided to ignore them. I told my mom that's why I don't go to my dad's house anymore, and she got really upset with him. The next day, she went to talk to my dad. I don't know what they talked about. She just came back and said Anna can't be around us anymore. She told me she can't ban me from being around my dad, and that it's my decision, but Anna is strictly forbidden from being in the same place as me and my sister. My grandparents and aunts agree. They know the situation with my sister. I haven't talked to my dad, but my cousin told me that my dad had a fight with my grandpa. He usually says Anna is a good person and we don't understand the pain she's been through, so I guess now he's really mad at all of us for our lack of empathy, as he always says. I don't know. At least now I won't be seeing them for a while. It's a boring update, but that's what happened. Update, August 2, 2024. Hi, I wasn't planning on doing another update, but we've had a lot of issues with Anna, too many, and I think even my dad now realizes she's crazy. I haven't been seeing my dad, and my mom won't let him bring Anna to our house because I'm there a lot, and she won't allow her near me or my sister. Anna started acting weird, sending me messages. At first, she apologized to me, but insisted that my dad misses me and my sister. I replied, telling her that my mom doesn't allow us to talk to her, and she said she's my dad's partner, so we have to get used to having her around. She started talking badly about my mom, saying I'm too young to see it, but my mom is manipulating us, and it's wrong because she won't let us be a family. I may be young, but I'm not stupid. I didn't reply to her again and showed the messages to my mom, who talked to my dad again. My dad didn't know anything about it and apparently argued with Anna about it because now my mom is considering removing his last name from our names to end this nonsense and protect us. I don't fully understand this, but in my country you can go to court and strip your father's last name, making him have no rights over you. I truly believe that neither I nor my sister would have a problem with this, but I think my mom is just saying it to scare him. This is what I heard from my aunt, and I don't know how much of this is true, but my dad has been staying at my grandparents' house. One night, Anna came knocking, looking for him just to argue. She and my dad started fighting, and Anna yelled at him that he can't leave her like this, but nothing else happened because my grandpa kicked her out. My aunt also told me that my dad said Anna sends him messages like, "If you leave me, I'll kill myself. You can't leave me." So my dad is scared of leaving her and scared of her. Less than 2 days ago, I found out my dad had to rush out of work because she sent him a goodbye message. Nothing happened to her. She just cut her wrist like she always does. My aunt says this is something Anna has always done. Even when the affair started, she'd text him saying she was about to kill herself so my dad would come over to her. This is something Anna also told me, but in a more romantic way. It always scared me. I haven't contacted my dad, and I avoid him when he's at my grandparents', but from what my aunt told me, he doesn't know what to do because he misses us, but is afraid of leaving her and her killing herself. I feel terrible thinking this, but I'm honestly relieved to hear all of this from afar, and I'm so grateful my mom banned us from seeing her before all of this happened. And honestly, this is his karma, so I won't be getting involved in this. Hello, everybody, David here. Welcome. Here we share true stories from real people. Today, starting out with the first story. My mom kicked me out because I refused to share my college fund with my step-siblings. She also didn't like what happened next. So here's a bit of background before diving into what happened. I'm a 17-year-old girl living with my 43-year-old mom, stepdad, and 2 step-siblings. I have a stepbrother and a stepsister, but we're not close. My stepbrother, let's call him Jackson, is a year older than me, and my stepsister, Emma, is 2 years younger. We all go to the same high school, but we don't share friends and have never been close. My mom married their dad after dating for almost 5 years. The wedding happened 3 years ago, but our families had been living together for 6 years. The wedding was just a formality. As for my dad, unfortunately, he passed away when I was very young, so I didn't get much time with him. I barely remember him because I was so young when he died. My parents were never married, and my dad's family didn't accept my mom because she was a bit of a party girl and didn't have the best reputation in their hometown. So they lived together for a short while but didn't marry because his parents might have disowned him. He was diagnosed with terminal leukemia at just 27, and by the time they found out, it was too late to do anything. Fortunately, he had time to get his affairs in order and set up a college fund for me after his passing, so I wouldn't have to worry, and my mom wouldn't struggle much after his death. I've always known about this since his lawyer told me when I was old enough to understand these things. My dad's lawyer controls the money, but after I turn 18, I'll have full control over the fund. A long time after my dad's death, it was just me and my mom, and I got used to that. Then my stepdad came along when I was about 8, and after dating for a while, we all moved in together. My mom moved out of the town we used to live in because she said it was too painful to live in the same place where she and my dad met, although I think it was because of her reputation. I never met my grandparents on my dad's side because they never showed any interest in meeting me. We occasionally visited my mom's parents, who were nice, but my mom's family wasn't really close-knit. So when we moved in with my stepdad and his kids, I had high hopes, thinking I'd finally have a big happy family. But unfortunately, my new family didn't live up to that, and I don't blame them for it, but it left me quite disappointed. When I was young, it wasn't that they made me feel unwelcome or treated me badly, but there was just something really off about everyone's energy. We all lived together, but it never really felt like a family, and I never connected with my stepdad or his kids. We lived under the same roof, but they never really made an effort to make me feel comfortable or get to know me. I tried multiple times, but they didn't seem too enthusiastic, so I gave up after a few months of trying. I accepted that we were more like roommates than an actual family, and that was that. I didn't idealize it. However, my mom's experience was entirely different because they treated her very differently. The energy toward my mom was completely different, and they really considered her a part of the family. I could be very wrong here, but I feel that part of the reason my step-siblings and stepdad were happy to include my mom and pretend to be a happy family with her while excluding me was that my stepdad's ex-wife was a nightmare. I never met her personally, but I've heard about her, and from what I've heard, she was a total gold digger who left my stepdad nearly broke after the divorce. He had to rebuild his life from scratch, and to make matters worse, he was left to care for my two step-siblings alone. Their mom abandoned them and ran off with her new lover right after the divorce. Finding a woman like my mom, who was the complete opposite of his ex-wife, was probably great for all of them, but I wasn't really needed in that equation, and that's exactly how they felt. I can't pinpoint it, and I can't think of examples right now, but it's just based on feelings and energy. I always felt like, even though I was part of the family, I wasn't really a part of the family. The only comfort I had was the thought that I might be overthinking everything, and that's what I would tell myself whenever things got tough for me. It feels weird to say this, but I was a little jealous because I felt like my mom had finally found her people, but I wasn't included. I don't think that's a good feeling for a child to have, but that was my childhood. I started resenting all of them after a few years because it seemed like they just abandoned me or something. I never brought it up to anyone because it always seemed petty and meaningless, so I didn't want to make a big deal out of it by saying anything, and that's just life. I wasn't okay with it, but I was content. Now, back to what happened a few days ago. I've been looking at colleges for the past few weeks because I'm expected to graduate in a few months, and I need to start sending out applications. I wasn't worried about money because, as I mentioned, my mom always told me there was a fund set aside for me, and that's what I would use. But a few days ago, my mom told me she needed to talk to me about something very important. She told me that my stepdad wasn't able to save money for his kids to go to college, so she needed me to help the family by letting my step-siblings use the money from my college fund as well. Jackson had taken a gap year and was set to start college at the same time as me, so that was the context of the conversation. Legally, my mom has no control over that money because, according to his will, my dad made it clear that only I could control my money after I turned 18. And to be honest, I don't want to share that money with my step-siblings. First, I don't consider them family, and I'm sure they feel the same way. And second, even if I don't use all the money my dad left me, I still want to use the fund for myself. That money could really help me get a good start and be useful when I get my own apartment and things like that until I start earning my own money. Besides, I've saved a lot by attending public school instead of private school, and so far, my mom hasn't had to spend money on my education. I'm also a good student, so I'm expecting to get scholarships at whatever university I decide to apply to and attend. Money has never been a concern for me, but now that I'm older and turning 18 in a few months, I've started thinking about saving and making money. To me, giving away money from my fund to my step-siblings doesn't seem like a good idea. So I told my mom that I wouldn't share the money with them because I didn't think it was necessary. If Jackson really wanted to go to college, he could just do what millions of kids do and get a student loan. My mom wasn't happy with my answer and called me selfish, and I didn't disagree. I was being selfish, and I saw nothing wrong with that. So, instead of arguing with her, I just told her that I was selfish and completely okay with that because I didn't consider my step-siblings family. That's when my mom started yelling at me, seemingly believing that what I said was tantamount to committing a criminal offense. It took me a few seconds to process the fact that she was losing it just because I told the truth and said that I didn't consider my step-siblings family. The double standard was unbelievable because, on one hand, the family had treated me like an outsider for the past 8 years, and she never seemed to notice, or maybe she did and just didn't care. But when it comes to me, I have to consider them family and treat them as such for no reason at all. I tried to talk to her calmly and not yell back at her, but it was pointless because she was out of control, calling me ungrateful and other things. So I waited for her to finish yelling at me, and then I told her that she could yell at me all she wanted, but I wasn't going to change my mind. The only thing that yelling accomplished was pushing me further away and making me even less inclined to help them in any capacity. My mom calmed down a little after I said that, and I thought we were finally going to have a reasonable discussion where I could express my feelings, but that was naive of me. I forgot that in that house, my feelings didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was that my mom, my stepdad, and my step-siblings were happy. My happiness didn't matter to any of them. So, after she calmed down, she told me I had a week to decide, but after that, she would have no choice but to kick me out of the house. I thought she was joking because that was ridiculous, but she told me she wasn't, and since my birthday was less than a month away, she wouldn't even be legally obligated to let me live with them anymore because I wouldn't be a minor. So I'd be out on my own with no support if I didn't agree to share my college fund, which I'll reiterate was created by my dad specifically for me, with my step-siblings. I could hardly believe that my biological mother would say such things to me, and put me in such a difficult position just for the sake of my step-siblings when I was supposed to be her own daughter. It seemed that being with her new husband was more important than her daughter, and now I understood that. She told me to be careful and think this through because this decision could cost me everything, and then she left the room while I sat there trying to process what she had just said. I was deeply hurt to be treated this way by my own mother, and that day I decided I would leave that house no matter what. So I started talking to friends and telling them that I needed help finding an apartment of my own because I planned to move out on my 18th birthday. I told them everything my mom had said and explained the urgency of the situation. I knew that once I turned 18, I would get all the money and then be able to control where I spent it. Yes, I would have to save and carefully choose a career in college, but it was worth it because it meant that at least I could move out and live independently instead of enduring this family, or rather, forcing them to endure me. Because after that conversation with my mom, it was clearer than ever that I wasn't welcome in that house, and had really just been a burden all these years. I hadn't overthought anything. In fact, I might have underestimated everything because I never saw this coming. A few days passed and a friend told me she had talked to a cousin who was also applying to the same college as me because we were both interested in a similar field. She was planning to live in an apartment because she wanted to be independent from the start. and my friend suggested I get in touch with her so that if we ended up attending the same college, we could rent an apartment together and live there. I thought it was a great idea and almost immediately got in touch with my friend's cousin. We arranged everything, and I also told her about my situation, and she seemed very understanding, and I could tell she was a good person and we would get along well. So that part was settled, and the only thing I had to worry about was where I would live until college started, because that was still a few months away. But it turns out I got that sorted pretty easily because my friends told me I could stay with them until college started. It was a complicated and risky plan, but I was willing to go through with it because anything was better than living with my mom and these people. Because the way they treated me after the argument with my mom was horrible. And I don't mean horrible in the sense that they were bad-mouthing me or tormenting me or anything, but what they were doing was far more humiliating. Everyone banded together against me and acted as if I was the most disgusting creature to ever exist. Like if I walked into a room, everyone would immediately stop talking and retreat to their rooms. They were constantly giving me dirty looks, and even refused to speak to me, as if I had done something wrong. It was humiliating, and I wanted to run away because the feeling was so awful. It took me a while to figure something out for myself, but I decided that as soon as my friends were ready to take me in, I would leave this place. So, the day my mom talked to me again to see if I had changed my mind, I decided to tell her the truth and then leave. I told her I hadn't changed my mind, and I was, in fact, going to leave. I told her that the way she and her family had treated me over the past week was nothing short of psychotic, and I couldn't continue to put up with it. I told her I had talked to a few friends and would be living with them until I could start college and get out of here. I told her that I never wanted to see her again, so she could go ahead and kick me out, and I wouldn't care. I had already planned for that. So, I wasn't too surprised when she started yelling at me again and told me that I needed to get out of her house because it wasn't a place for selfish, ungrateful daughters like me. I left pretty cheerfully and was happy to see the last of them, but that wasn't the end of my plan. During the time I spent in my room completely isolated, I thought of a way to get back at my mom. Ever since she married my stepdad, my life had changed for the worse, but she didn't even seem to care because she was happy with her new family. I tried to be happy for her and suppress my feelings about it, but now it was clear that she didn't care about me at all, and that her stepkids were more important to her than I was. The way she treated me made me feel so terrible that I decided I wasn't going to let this go. That's why the moment I left the house, I decided to tell the whole truth about her and let everyone know who she really was. The only reason I waited a week to leave her house and then speak out about her outrageous demands was that I didn't want her to reach out to me and tell me how disappointed she was in me or anything like that. Because no sane person would support the things she said to me, so when people found out, there would be a storm coming her way. So when I moved in with a friend, I decided to go on my social media and post about my mom. I wrote about what happened and how my mom yelled at me just because I didn't want to contribute to her stepkids' college fund. I also mentioned how none of them had ever treated me like family, but my mom never seemed to have an issue with that. It only became a problem when I did the same thing to them. I provided more details in the post, recounting specific instances where I felt excluded. I talked about the double standards. I also mentioned how she had almost forgotten about me when she started living with her new family. And I also said that I saw her as the most selfish creature on this planet for the way she treated me, just for saying no to something completely ridiculous. Any sane person in my position would have said no, because the money she was talking about was left to me by my dad specifically for me. It wasn't for anyone else to use, and I didn't think it was fair to ask me to share it with people who had never made me feel like part of their family. I might have even considered it if my step-siblings had been kind to me at any point, but that wasn't the case here. I was really frustrated and let all my frustration out in that post. I knew this would negatively impact my mom because she had a lot of followers, including my dad's friends and their children. But at that moment, I simply didn't care and wanted to get back at her. Honestly, she had been my only source of support and happiness throughout my life because I only had my parents to rely on, and my grandparents didn't really stay in touch with me. She was my first and most important friend, so when she chose my step-siblings over me, I felt like it was a huge betrayal. I was deeply hurt and just wanted to get everything off my chest without worrying about the consequences. So I posted it, and exactly what I expected happened. I received multiple messages from my mom saying that I had ruined her life because everyone had seen the post and it had been shared numerous times. My mom was quite popular among her friends, so it was no surprise that people were just looking for an excuse to talk about her, and I had added fuel to the fire. She tried calling me multiple times, but I didn't answer any calls or reply to any messages. I was just really upset and had hoped that posting it would make me feel better. But the messages my mom sent me afterward only made me feel worse about my decision. I could tell from her messages that she was genuinely devastated by this. She said things like she never expected me to do something like this, that she had raised me to be kind and compassionate, but I was the opposite of both, and she couldn't even believe I was her daughter. Then she pulled out the big one and told me that if my dad were alive today to see this vengeful and cruel side of me, he would be deeply disappointed and wouldn't even want to be related to me. That really hit me hard, and I started to feel like I was doing something terrible. I began second-guessing everything, and that's what ultimately brought me here. And at this point, I'm not even sure if I was right to not want to share my college fund with my step-siblings. I don't know if I should try to make amends with my mom and the others, because I'm not even sure if I can face them after what I've done. But then again, this could be a very clever way to try and manipulate me, and if that's the case, it's definitely working. That's why I need all of you to help me, because now that you have the truth, you can give me your objective perspective. So, am I the bad person for refusing to share my college fund with my step-siblings, and then posting against my mom? Update 1. First of all, thank you so much for the feedback. Many of you have sent me really kind messages, and that has made me feel better about myself and what I've done. I guess I needed that to see things for what they are. I was planning to give my mom another chance just because I wanted to see the good in her and believe she wasn't a bad person. But the way she's spoken and the things she's done, she simply isn't a good person, and it's time I accepted that instead of fighting against it. So I've blocked her to make sure she can't reach out to me anymore. I know if she texts me again, it will only be to manipulate me or make that post go away. I don't want to take that post down. I want it to stay up at least until she apologizes to me. She knows where I am because my friend's mom told her that I'm living with them, so she knows where to find me. And knowing that, if she doesn't reach out to me, I'll take that as a sign that she doesn't care about me, and that she cares more about her reputation. Update 2. So it's been 2 weeks since I moved in with my friend and moved out of my stepdad's house. Since that post, I haven't had any contact with anyone from the family. I've gone to school a few days and seen Emma a few times, but she just gave me dirty looks and pretended like I wasn't there. Not surprising, considering they're practically experts at pretending I don't exist. They've been doing that for the past 8 years, so I guess it's much easier for them now. Anyway, my mom finally came to visit me this afternoon. She showed up with a black plastic bag, the kind people use for trash, and left it in the living room, saying it had all my remaining stuff in it, basically things I couldn't fit in my bag when I left the house. I felt a bit insulted that she used a trash bag to pack my things, and even more insulted when she dumped it all on the living room floor, leaving me to pick it up. My friend and her parents, who witnessed all of this, were horrified. They didn't like the way my mom behaved at all and really took the time to argue with her about it. They told her that since I'm her only daughter, she should show me more compassion instead of treating me like garbage. They really gave it to her, but she couldn't take it. She told them they had no right to speak about how she raised her daughter when they were the ones raising a delinquent like me. I almost laughed when she said that because I'm not a delinquent, I'm actually an honor student, and she knows that. I almost pointed that out myself, but it wasn't necessary, thanks to my friend who stood up for me. She said that to my mom and also that she's grateful her parents aren't like mine and have hearts. It turned into a bit of a shouting match, and my friend's parents even threatened to call the cops, so she reluctantly left. I'm really grateful for my friend and her parents. I don't think they really had to take my side, but they did, and I couldn't be happier about it. This is probably the first time in my life that someone has fought for me, and it really means a lot. But anyway, I don't think my mom will be back anytime soon because after the welcome she got yesterday, she wouldn't dare show up here again, and I'm honestly hoping she doesn't because I'm so tired of the drama. Right now. I just want to move on with my life and start a new chapter, but I can't do that if she keeps showing up over and over. So I'm hoping this is the last time I see her. Update 3. Hello again. It's been a while since we last connected. I haven't updated in quite some time. I think it's been a few months, but you can't blame me for that. That's because I've been applying to colleges and trying to get into a good one with a scholarship. I've been working really hard and it's all paid off. I'm going to my first choice university, and yes, I'm following the plan I thought of a few months ago. My friend's cousin, who was also applying to the same university, got in too, and will be renting an apartment and living together. She's a really sweet girl, and the fact that she's my friend's cousin is just amazing, because this way, I can keep in touch with everyone. I know many people are waiting for updates on my mom, and not about how my life is going. But don't worry, I have something to tell you about her. But since it's a bit long, I'll leave it for the end. My mom showed up at my friend's house again, and this time things got really bad. She yelled, demanding I take down the post and issue a public apology. I think she woke up that day feeling very optimistic because clearly after all that wasn't going to happen. She actually called me ungrateful and other very nasty things, and as a self-righteous person would, she demanded I help her fix her life because that post had messed her up so much. At that moment, I was a bit at a loss for what to do because everything happened so fast, and I didn't know if she was capable of being violent or not. The situation escalated quickly and turned into a huge fight. There was some grappling, yelling, and a lot of chaos. At one point, she grabbed my arm and started pulling me as if she was trying to kidnap me. During this, she kept yelling at me to take down the post. My friend's parents eventually called the cops to intervene and also helped me get out because the situation had gotten out of hand. The craziest part is that my friend recorded the whole scene on her phone. When she told me, I couldn't believe it, but I decided to upload it to my social media. So now, not only is there a post telling everyone about how she treated me all these years, but there's also a video with evidence. I'm even hoping some YouTube channel picks up the story so what my mom did to me can go viral and get even worse. When the cops arrived, she calms down a bit, but still, my friend's parents explained to the cops what had happened, so they took her away. After finding out my friend recorded the video, I thought about using it as evidence, but honestly, I don't have the energy or desire to waste my efforts on my mom. After all, I don't even know if I can consider her that anymore. Plus, that video is on my social media, and I'm not sure if it can be used as evidence. If it can, then great, but I don't want to know anything more about her. I know many people were expecting a stronger revenge against my mom, but if you were in my shoes, you'd probably be as exhausted as I am after years of going through this, so the best thing for me is to cut all ties with her, especially now that I've moved to college and won't have her around. Hello, everybody, David here. Welcome. Here we share true stories from real people. Today, starting out with the first story. My parents surprised me with a family trip for my birthday, but when I brought my bags downstairs, my sister handed me a list of chores to do while they went on the trip without me. 3 days ago, I celebrated my 15th birthday, but things didn't go as planned. On the morning of my birthday, my parents happily came to me and told me they had planned a family trip as a surprise. Being the youngest and often overlooked, I usually don't get surprises like this, so I was genuinely thrilled. However, a few hours later, after packing my bags and bringing them downstairs to join the family, I found out that my parents had already left and only my 17-year-old sister, Alex, was waiting for me downstairs. She's the golden child who can always get our parents to do exactly what she wants, and this time was no different. She looked way too happy, so I knew something was wrong. When I asked what was going on, she told me that there was no need to pack my bags and that I should go back upstairs and unpack. At first, I thought the trip was canceled altogether, but then she said there wouldn't be any vacation for me at all. She handed me a piece of paper with a list of chores on it. I was so confused, and then she explained that even though our parents surprised me with the trip in the morning, they had discussed it afterward. Alex thought that since we have finals in a few weeks, it would be much better if I stayed home and studied while she could go because she had already finished all her work. Meanwhile, if I got bored not being at the beach with the family, I could start working on the chores that needed to be done around the house. She laughed and said that instead of sulking, I should be grateful that she was giving me some time to study and prepare for finals, instead of wasting time having fun outside with the family. I was so hurt that I didn't know what to say, other than asking where our parents were. She told me that she had dropped them off at the airport and stayed behind to personally deliver this gift since it was her birthday present to me. She said our parents didn't want to get my hopes up, but Alex had brought up my upcoming finals, which are only a few weeks after the trip, so they couldn't ignore that and thought this was the best decision. Apparently, they left Alex to tell me because they couldn't bear to break my heart themselves. I know Alex loves and enjoys any chance to humiliate me, so I tried to hold back my tears in front of her and went back upstairs with my bags. I waited until I heard the front door close, then finally broke down and cried for hours. Alex has always hated me, and I know that. I've also always known that my parents just go along with whatever she says without much thought because, to them, her word is gospel, but I could never have imagined they would do something so cruel and humiliating to me on my birthday, of all days. In the morning, after my parents told me about the surprise trip, I even texted my friends and told them I wouldn't be able to hang out with them that night as planned. They were even quite surprised that my parents had organized something like this for me. I guess some things really are too good to be true. Yet, I was still so angry. After I stopped crying, the more I thought about my situation, the worse I felt. So I decided to do something I knew would really upset my parents and Alex in retaliation. Since I was home alone, I decided to go into my dad's office and make a bunch of calls from his phone to all the important contacts I could find on his MacBook. I invited them to a dinner party that I was hosting that evening in celebration of my parents' anniversary as a surprise. I knew it was a last-minute invite, but I told everyone that I would really appreciate it if they could attend. Since I'm just a kid, most of my dad's business partners agreed to come to the party I was throwing. I did the same with my mom's contacts. Neither of them password protected their devices, and they made the foolish decision to leave everything at home, making it easy for me. Then I decided to message Alex's boyfriend on Instagram and tell him the same thing, inviting him over for the night. I also invited my friends and helped them decorate the house to make it look like a party. Finally, around 7 p.m., the guests I invited started to arrive, but they were quite surprised when they didn't see my parents anywhere. I told them that it was a surprise for the evening, so they would find out what was happening in due time. Once everyone had arrived, and I had taken a group photo with all of them, I decided to put my plan into action and told them exactly where my parents were. I told them the whole story of how I had been treated, and how my parents always seemed to think that whatever Alex said had to be done. Basically, I was like Cinderella, but had never spoken up about it until today. Then, I explained what had happened on my birthday, how my parents had abandoned me, and didn't even bother to explain everything directly to me, all because Alex thought it was the right thing to do. I saw many people were utterly shocked because my parents always presented themselves as kind and generous to others, but I can assure you that good people don't do things like that to their own kids. Anyway, after I finished telling them everything that had happened to me, I told them that this was exactly why I was throwing this party, to expose my parents and sister. If I hadn't ruined enough for the three of them, I also decided to show them the list of chores that Alex had left for me. I noticed her boyfriend sitting in the corner, completely unaware that Alex had this cruel and inhumane side to her. Everyone was silent after I spoke and shared what had happened to me. Over time, I think people realized there was no point in staying any longer, so some left without saying a word, while others tried to comfort me before leaving. The only thing I felt bad about was wasting their time. I decided to send the group photo I had taken with everyone who attended the party to my parents and Alex with the caption, "My birthday party had a few guests today. I think I'll finally start on the list Alex left for me." It was a perfect plan. After sending that message, they responded within seconds, telling me to fix what I had done immediately, and they would be home on the next flight. I blocked all of them and went to my best friend Fiona's house with my bag because I knew home was no longer my home. Fiona and her parents are genuinely kind people, and they've always told me their door was open to me, and only now did I decide to take them up on their offer and move in with them. I don't know how long they can support me, but for now it's all I have, and I'm so grateful they've opened their home to me with such kindness. Anyway, on my birthday I didn't hear anything from my parents, but the next day they showed up at Fiona's house. I guess no one was surprised when I chose to stay with Fiona since they knew we'd been best friends since we were little. When they arrived, her parents refused to let them in and said they had no business talking to me when I had made it very clear that I didn't want to talk to them about anything. But my parents started threatening to sue Fiona's parents, and I got a little scared, so I told them to let them in and I would talk to them. They were furious with me and said that no matter what they had done, I had no right to drag their business partners into this because now their entire reputation had been ruined, and not a single partner or associate was willing to talk to them. Some had even blocked my parents, and they blamed me for all of this, which I think is fair because I orchestrated the whole thing. But I also told them that if they had just been a little kinder to me and not completely humiliated me with that stunt on my birthday, I wouldn't have done anything like that. In the end, I yelled at them for always treating me so badly compared to Alex and told them that she, along with my parents, had ruined my life, and I would never forgive them for that. The argument escalated a lot, and we were all shouting so much that Fiona's parents had to intervene, and Fiona had to take me out of the room to calm me down. Once I finally calmed down, her parents came and told me that my parents had left and that they would ensure that they could never talk to me until I was ready to face them directly. Then, they suggested that I seriously consider legally emancipating myself from my parents because it was becoming increasingly clear that they didn't care about me, and that it was time to remove them from my life for good. So after discussing the matter with Fiona's parents, I decided to talk to a lawyer, and now we're moving forward with the emancipation process. I'm still very confused because this is a huge decision, and I don't want to regret anything in the future. But honestly, with the way things have been going, I don't think I will. Yesterday, my parents contacted me again against my wishes. Last night, I received an email, and from the address I knew it was from my parents. I really tried not to open it, but curiosity got the better of me, and I eventually read it. Basically, they started by saying that the reason they surprised me with the trip in the first place was because one of my dad's clients had opened a new spa resort at the beach. It was a perk for my dad, and the family just decided to take advantage of it at the same time as my birthday. But when Alex mentioned my upcoming finals, they didn't want my grades to be affected later just because I had gone on vacation with them a few weeks before the exams. They couldn't believe that I had misunderstood this as something malicious and tried to retaliate against them for it. It only made them feel like they hadn't raised me properly. Alex herself was upset and just wanted to be a caring big sister, so I didn't need to overreact like that. It was all nonsense, and I was actually so upset that I almost stopped reading the email halfway through. But then the second half talked about how upset they were that I had dragged others into our family drama and made our disputes public, which they never wanted or expected to happen. They said that no matter how much we argued, I never came to them to say exactly what issues I had with my parents, so they never had a chance to address them. They insisted that if I had just talked to them once and discussed my feelings, they might have been able to work things out with me. But instead, I took such drastic measures. They said the list of chores Alex gave me was a bit much, but I should have called them afterward and questioned them about it. It would have come right back if they knew I felt excluded and abandoned. However, the way I chose to handle the situation was completely unexpected, and they felt terrible about everything because they really didn't want to hurt me. This was just an unfortunate misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion. They want to talk and work things out, but I don't know what I want to do right now. I'm so confused about it, so please help me. Was I wrong to throw a party and expose my parents to all their business partners and associates after they excluded me from the trip? Update 1. Most of you think that what I did was entirely justified and that they deserved it, and I shouldn't have to apologize for anything. So, I've decided that I won't apologize. I blocked the email address they sent that email from so they can't contact me again. I know they could just create another account and keep trying to reach me, but I'll keep blocking them. I've made my decision. Whatever they try to say to me, I won't respond or even try to read it. It's not worth it. All it will do is confuse me even more. As for the emancipation, I've decided to go through with it. It's a big step, and I know I'm still very young, but Fiona and her parents have assured me that no matter what happens, they'll be there for me, and I have nothing to worry about. They even told me they could legally adopt me if it would make me feel more secure, and I think that might be a good idea. But I haven't fully decided yet. For now, we're just focusing on the emancipation. We've talked to the lawyer, and the paperwork is being processed. I really don't know how my parents will react to this because when they sent me that email, I could tell they weren't happy about me choosing to live with Fiona and her parents at the moment. That doesn't make sense to me because with the way they've treated me my whole life, it's clear to me that they don't really love me that much. At least not as much as they love having Alex around. That's crystal clear to me, but they're still trying to reach out to me, which is confusing. I have a feeling they just want me back to fix their reputation and image, nothing more. For now, all I can do is wait for them to receive the paperwork and see how they react. It's been a few days since my post, and they haven't tried to contact me again after that email, so I don't know how they're feeling now. I know things can't be going well for them either because a lot of people came to the party I invited them to. And I heard that Alex and her boyfriend have broken up, but of course, no one knows the reason except me. Update 2. A few days ago, my parents finally received the legal emancipation papers for me, and they were not happy about it, which took me by surprise. They called Fiona's parents, and there was a huge argument because they apparently believe that Fiona's parents are manipulating me into doing this and are controlling me. They don't think I'm doing this of my own free will, which doesn't make sense to me because they're aware of how badly they've treated me in the past. Of course, I'm doing this of my own free will. Somehow, I started to predict this kind of reaction from them after my last update. As many of you told me, they're doing exactly what I thought. They just want me back to show everyone that we're a happy family and that everything I said at the party was just a fit of anger. But I didn't go back to them, and that's what's really making them angry. The fact that I finally stood up to them is something they can't handle. It's sad that this is happening. They can call Fiona's parents whatever they want, but that won't change the fact that they deserved this. They don't deserve to be my parents, and now I'm finally free from them. I haven't heard much, but Fiona told me that it seems my parents called her parents all sorts of names and told them they would fight this in court if they had to because they have no right to manipulate me into doing all this nonsense, and they won't stand for it. They were pretty angry and even threatened to harm them, which I think is crazy because I hope they realize that's illegal and will only make things worse. The way they talk to me about Fiona's parents just reinforces what I've believed about them. They don't want me back because they see me as their beloved daughter, but because they want to fix their image in front of others. Not once did they say they wanted to talk to me or that they wanted me back. They just kept saying they know Fiona's parents want to ruin their reputation by using me and trying to show the world that I'm being mistreated in my own home, but they won't allow that. Why would they even want to do that? Fiona's parents haven't known me that long. They only met through us, so there's no reason for them to be competitive with them. There's no competition because Fiona's parents are much more successful in life and much kinder and more compassionate. But my parents are so worried about their image that they assume Fiona's parents are just like them and incapable of thinking about me. They just think they're trying to take them down. I wish I could tell my parents that Fiona's parents aren't pretending to be my saviors by trying to help me here. They actually are my saviors because I needed saving from them. If only they had realized that from the beginning, they would have regretted everything they've done instead of trying to create more drama. But Fiona and her parents have firmly instructed me not to communicate with them, no matter how tempted I may feel, because it's not worth it. I know they received the phone call from my parents a few days ago, and after arguing with them over the phone and only giving me the details they thought I needed to know, they told me that they had recorded the call. My parents were really stupid, because they could use that as evidence to explain why I deserve to be emancipated from them. They also told me that they wanted me to seriously consider whether I would like them to adopt me legally, and I finally agreed because I really do like them. I also know this will make my parents even angrier, but that's not really the reason. It's mainly because I genuinely feel they're incredibly kind and loving people, and having Fiona as my sister would be a bonus. So I'm all for it. They told me they'd talk to the lawyer again to start the paperwork for that because it could also help my emancipation case, knowing I have better people to trust and live with. Honestly, this is getting better and better, and I couldn't be more grateful to them. Update 3: Something terrible happened today. Long story short, Alex hit me after school. My last English class is held in the east wing of the school, and when I walked out of class, she and a group of her friends cornered me. Unfortunately, I'm always the last one to leave class because I'm so slow at packing up my things, and by the time I leave, most people have already gone. When I saw Alex and her friends waiting for me outside, I felt a little scared, but I didn't show it because that would only make them win. Anyway, as I started to leave the classroom, they came up to me and told me I wasn't allowed to leave. They made the stragglers leave and told me they had some unfinished business with me. I tried to stay calm and keep a level head so my fear wouldn't show on my face, but it seemed like they didn't care. Alex grabbed my arm and dragged me outside while I screamed for her to let me go, but the others were noisy too, and no one could hear me. Then they took me to the janitor's room and locked me inside after shoving me hard. I kept banging on the door, but they stayed outside, and I figured even if someone heard me, they wouldn't dare do anything because Alex and her friends were upperclassmen with a bad reputation. After leaving me there for about 5 minutes, Alex let me out, and by then almost everyone in that part of the school had left. It was just me against them. That's when she slapped me across the face and started yelling at me. She called me selfish and said I was ungrateful to our parents. Then the real reason for her anger came out. She started accusing me of being the reason her boyfriend broke up with her. Then she slammed my head against the concrete. And that's when I started feeling really dizzy. She took advantage of that and kept punching me while her friends watched and laughed. It hurt so much, and I tried to defend myself, but Alex is a few inches taller and a lot heavier than me, so I couldn't do much. At one point, I actually started curling up against the wall, and she kept hitting me. Once she was satisfied, she gave me one final kick and left with her friends while I slumped against the wall, crying. About 15 minutes later, Fiona finally found me sitting on the floor, crying my eyes out. When I told her what had happened, she helped me up, and instead of walking home together, we decided to take a cab because I was too weak to walk. When we got home, I told her parents everything, and they looked so serious. They immediately contacted the school and then the police. It's only been an hour since, and they've been on the phone the whole time, so they're quite busy, but Fiona is taking care of me because I'm pretty beat up. The bruises are starting to show, and everything hurts, but I know Alex is going to get what's coming to her for this, and she's going to get it soon. There's a lot I want to say, so I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Last week, Alex hit me, but luckily, the school intervened on my behalf. They shared the security footage from that wing of the building with the police, so it was pretty easy to charge her with a misdemeanor. She asked to do community service to make up for it, but the best part is she got suspended for the next 6 weeks. That means she won't be able to attend the prom, which she was really looking forward to. She also won't be able to take her finals with the rest of the class and will have to take them separately, so she won't be able to cheat. I think she deserves it, and I felt pretty vindicated when Fiona told me all of this. Another big thing that happened is that after all the drama with Alex, my parents decided to terminate their parental rights. That's right, they terminated their parental rights to me, and all the paperwork has been signed, so I'm finally free. Fiona's parents are in the process of legally adopting me, so I'm so grateful to them for that. My parents said that after everything that happened, they didn't want me in their family. I know they'll try to make it look like it's my fault, but I don't think anyone will believe them, so they can try all they want. Anyway, I don't care, to be honest. Now that I'm finally part of a happy family, I can assure you that my new sister and parents will be much better than what I had before. I really can't believe that things are finally working out for me, and I'm probably the happiest I've been in a long time. I'm so happy that I almost forgot I have finals coming up. Update 5. It's been a few months since I last updated here, but now it's summer break, and I have more free time, so I can update you on what's been going on. The good news for me is that I did well on my exams despite everything, so that's a huge plus. I might have failed a few classes, but even though I didn't get the highest grades, at least I passed them. I hadn't seen my sister since she was suspended, so I was able to focus on that instead of worrying about whether she would attack me again. I agree with some of the comments that Alex got off too easy with everything she did, but there's not much more I can do beyond calling the police. If the justice system only gives her community service, then maybe it doesn't work so well. Maybe it's a message from the universe telling me to study to change it. Though I'm not too keen on pursuing a career in law. As for my parents, I haven't heard from them all this time, and that's okay. Fiona's parents are still going through the adoption process, which is going a little slowly, but I guess it will be finalized soon. Update 6. I'm updating because I went back to school a few months ago after spending the summer with my new family. Yes, I've been adopted, so they're my new family and my only family. The paperwork came through last week, so I'm taking this opportunity to update. The good news is that Alex still hasn't returned to school. My parents have moved away after everything that happened, and took their precious daughter with them, so I don't have to worry about running into Alex in the hallways. I've seen her friends, but they haven't done or said anything to me, so I'm okay with that.